Namaskar, hello and welcome to Sansad TV. I am Namrata Singh and you are watching Perspective. In this election season, misinformation wears a new mask, one that smiles, speaks and charms the Indian voters with an authenticity that's hard to spot and even harder to control. From politicians to actors, their convincing speech showcases the power of generative AI to disrupt the largest election season in history. Since the inception of ChatGPT, artificial intelligence has garnered interest and attention, yet also raised concerns about deepfake technology, presenting new challenges for Indian voters. The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has from time to time urged social media to label and remove AI-generated fake content. Additionally, the Election Commission of India has instructed parties to swiftly remove fake content and cautioned against the use of deepfake tools. With AI's potential to sway opinions, voter manipulation is a major cause of concern. In our discussion today, we will explore how AI impacts elections and the steps India is taking or could take to safeguard democracy from this issue. To discuss this and much more, I'm joined by a very eminent panel of guests. I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Akshay Rout, former DG Election Commission of India. Also joining us, Professor Mayank Vatsa. He is Professor Computer Science at IIT Jodhpur. Both the guests are joining us virtually. Gentlemen, welcome to Sansad TV and thank you so much for your time. Mr. Rout, let me begin the discussion with you. During this ongoing election season, many deepfake videos of political leaders are circulating on several social media platforms like YouTube. What are your thoughts on the circulation of these fake videos of political leaders and how do you think it could potentially impact voters' sentiment?
I am very concerned indeed, and I'm sure all of us are. And this is not so much relating to the immediate elections, of course it does, but I'm also concerned about the future of this journey, the future of our electoral democracy, the future of the society, the potential damage that could be permanently done. Election is only a limited space, but the country and the society go beyond that. So if we have certain activities aided by technology, and I'm sure our friend Professor Vatsa is going to throw more light on that. But in elections, as a man of elections, I must say that there are two things which are important. One is level playing field, for which the model code is sacrosanct, and the rule of law. There are various laws, some of which you mentioned, some of these relating to IT Act, some of these relating to Representation of the People Act, some are normal, even penal code, Indian penal code, some relate to model code of conduct, which definitely prevent and stop and declare illegal to certain trends which are either offline or online. But there has been a confusion in some initial years whether the online stuff, which is more transitory, which is more abstract, which is non-traceable, are they subject to these restrictions or not? Election Commission has come out categorically to say, in fact, as early as 2013, that anything that appears on social media is equally subject to the laws as it is to, say, offline situations, to audiovisual media and all that. But
Right.
despite that, there is a growing pain of, because you just now said, the perception is so powerful. The whole election is a game of perception. And to create perception of intended quality or intended effect, they go to any extent, people who have high stakes, and then there is surrogacy, when the candidate and political party need not involve, but some people acting on their behalf can involve themselves and do whatever we think is non-lawful. So Election Commission of India yesterday has come out with a direct, very harsh, blunt directive to political parties that within 3 hours at least they have to take out whatever is claimed to be on their handle, and they say that they are ignorant. Someone else has put, which is spurious. Otherwise, they have to go to the next level. And the similar has been the direction to the social media platforms. Let me remind you that there was an earlier effort by the Election Commission to have a voluntary code of ethics, which has really all social media platforms, all the intermediaries who rule the internet era, they were very happily confirming, but nothing actually, they have not shown that sincerity of action. And there are two aspects just to close this, my initial conversation on this. One is is there any fake or deep fake which is impacting election commission's own instruments? Which are, by that I mean, for example, electronic voting machine, its security forces, its own officials. On that, I think Election Commission of India has tried to firewall itself by creating enough good amount of fact checkers and good amount of alertness. But the other parties, which the political parties indulge against each other and about each other. And most of them are, of course, supposed to be lies and fake and morphed and impersonations and all that. Now, those come in the ambit of model code of conduct ordinarily outside this. But now social media is covered. So Election Commission has yesterday has written very squarely and directly to political parties that they have some responsibility. In fact, when indulging in political dialogue about each other and campaigning for the best effect, but they cannot just forego the rules because on the grab that it is social media and they have all technologies available to do anything that they want.
Yeah, right. But Professor, political parties are also leveraging AI in the ongoing Lok Sabha elections to enhance their messaging and connect with voters across linguistic demographics. How can citizens differentiate between genuine and AI-generated content, particularly in the context of election-related information?
It's a very pertinent to actually note that the positive use of AI, means particularly in this case of generative AI, is welcomed, right? Means if I don't know a local language and if I'm communicating with the help of these generative AI tools in that local language to the Janta, then it is highly positive application. So here you don't need to means individuals or the population need not to even look at if a political figure is communicating with us in some fashion in my local language, that is fine. But then this technology is also misused in the same context, right? Means when we leverage the AI technology, in particularly in election messages, when we are tailoring our messages in local languages, be it in Bengali, Tamil, Telugu, right? And then with the diverse linguistic demographics, when we are actually doing this, then this is a very challenging scenario for the citizens. And thankfully, India has right now two independent entities like Misinformation Combat Alliance and Project Shakti. Both of them are the initiatives, the independent initiatives are trying to actually see how we can address this problem of misinformation to a large extent. But still, this is a much larger problem. And a few things which at least us as a citizens can do. The very first thing is that if you look at any information, can we figure out the source? Can we verify the source?
Exactly.
If the source actually looks authentic, if it is coming from Sansad Television, right? So Lok Sabha TV, then actually it is going to be more authentic. Then using WhatsApp, right? If something is getting circulated on WhatsApp, do we really actually trust everything over there? If something is coming through a URL, can we? So end of the day, this is all about the very first basic point is the source verification part, right? The second is obviously again, thankfully, different fact checkers agencies are also there, including these two alliances that I just talked about. So the fact checking has a very important role, particularly in the election time frame and in general also. Like whenever there is a information or misinformation that comes in, if they can actually figure out if this information is a correct information, fake information, or manipulated information, we should actually look out for those kinds of details. Third, very important and very basic fundamental is cross-referencing.
Yes.
If you don't believe in some information, right? Means if you don't believe that your leader is going to say this, just do a cross-verify. Do a cross-check with respect to some other sources also, if this is really true or not. And that is where actually you can catch the discrepancies. Obviously, there are few other things like digital literacy or use of analytical tools, and obviously the looking at the official statements and disclosures from the political party or different individuals, official handles. Those may be some of the low-hanging fruits, but majorly I'm going to focus on at least the major three tools that actually we should look at is source verification, fact checking, and cross-referencing.
as Professor was talking about, fact checking is very important. Mr. Rout, recently fake videos of Amir Khan and Ranveer Singh, I mean, these actors were circulated online over elections, and it was found that these videos were edited using AI. Do you believe the proliferation of AI-generated videos involving Bollywood celebrities will influence voters, and what steps can authorities take to prevent the spread of such content?
The professor was right. I think he mentioned certain ways in which citizens could perhaps do some check at their level. But I am not very optimistic about its actual application. Why?
Okay.
All this social media is a very fleeting experience, and for the voter or the citizen in general. And everyone doesn't have adequate level of technology literacy, to say the least. And you just remember that election time is a very extremely short time frame. And there is a tendency, in fact, forget social media, even in the normal offline campaign, to shoot and scoot. People just throw certain things and then run away. And there is an impact. For example, lies and rumors, whether generated through artificial intelligence about engagement of high technology, they definitely apply their intelligence like thieves against the police, for example. They lie or they try to be one step ahead.
And they also garner millions of views.
Yes. Yeah, that is amplification by retweeting, by resharing. There is a very unrestrained amplification of all this. And by the time some amount of good tech is there, a lot of damage has been done. And we know that in election situation, a good impact may take its time to happen, like to influence people to vote for a good candidate, good party, or good manifesto, or a good agenda. But something which is very spurious, that travels very fast, very fast. And that there the damaging part of I agree with what Professor was saying, that we have a lot of great use of artificial intelligence as well. And in terms of translation, giving people certain facilitation and all that. But what we are seeing in front of us is the other side more, and particularly in the context of election. And you and I and all of us know how important is election for all of us.
Exactly.
And particularly a national election in which the stakes are very high. So it's a no holds barred, and anyone who has a criminal intent, I will put the responsibility on the regulators. And I think partly Professor was referring to the fact check organizations and units. In fact, Election Commission has tried to develop its own to a good extent, and perhaps the governments also have theirs. And there are some private efforts as well. And then on the social media platforms, do they have, to me it has appeared that, okay, they give a lip service, they agree that all this is good stuff, they need to do it. But I'm not sure, and they're extremely powerful, as we know, extremely resourceful, and they have all algorithms with them, but they cannot trace and quickly. It's very difficult to believe. So perhaps I would expect some more proactivity, some more great intention from them. And then, of course, the regulators who have to do, Election Commission is trying to do its best. It's not easy. It's very complex. That is why this discussion on perspective, it's very complex. It's not like go and seize some money, which, there is a seizure instrument and you go and seize it. It's not like that. So it's complex, but I think anyone who is involved must do their job right. And just now you mentioned that it's not only Bollywood. I think it takes into account all types of personalities, including the political actors themselves, who are impersonated. In fact, portions of the past political actors impersonated, and things are given away, things attributed to them by applying great amount of intelligence, of artificial intelligence, if you call it. So it's a long battle, I think. I hope that someday we fully overpower it and overcome it.
So as Mr. Rout was saying that it's indeed a complex situation. So Professor, what challenges do law enforcement agencies face in detecting and responding to these deepfake videos and voice clonings, and what technological limitations hinder the automatic differentiation between original and fake video content created using AI?
Think of this way as an adversarial process, right?
Okay.
This one entity is looking at like how to defend or how to actually defend this whole democratic value and processes, right?
Okay.
Another entity is actually trying to create the challenges for this whole process. So in the artificial intelligence, there is a game called as Minimax game. So these are like two players. Min and max are two players.
Okay.
And one player's job is to win the game. Another player's job is to actually ensure that the first player does not win. Right?
Yeah, right.
So if you view this actually with this particular game fashion, so the deepfake technology, or for that matter, any adversarial technology, is going to actually work against the democratic process, right? And particularly about the election time frame to destabilize the whole democratic process. Now, when we talk about why it is challenging, the very first answer and the simplest answer to understand is it is the adversarial game. It is an ever evolving adversarial game. So we can come up with new technologies like advanced detection tools. Like, by the way, there are now advanced detection tools which are being used to discern if there's something is real or fake, right? And many of the fact checking entities are actually utilizing some of these tools. But having said that, at the same time, what is happening is that even the generation algorithms or the Gen AI algorithms are also becoming powerful. So it's a, as I call it, like my favorite cartoon movie from my childhood days is Tom and Jerry. It's like a Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, whether it is detection or any other actually way of detecting if some malpractice is going on or misuse of generative AI is going on, there is always actually actors who are trying to develop newer technologies to fool that system. But certainly means having access to the advanced detection technology is the very first and foremost, and at least in the current context, is the requirement. And fortunately, there are some tools which are now available. Something that from our lab also have developed, and others have also developed. And many of us are actually detecting the deepfakes for many of those videos.
Okay.
Right? With respect to the manipulated content, we are looking at the features. Second thing, which is very pertinent these days, is about training programs or literacy programs. Not only for the population, certainly public awareness campaigns are very important, and I'm pretty sure this is the program. Probably one of the programs would be essentially to highlight that particular part as a public awareness campaign.
Mr. Rout, how are Indian authorities addressing the detection and combating of AI deepfake during elections, and what role do social media platforms play in propagating AI-generated misinformation, and how can they be effectively regulated?
Perhaps so. The best that one can do is to be less fooled and less of a victim in a way. So to create as many defensive mechanisms as possible.
Yeah.
Because those who are conducting elections, their business is to conduct elections. Their business is primary business is not to develop technologies against some adversarial technology.
Okay.
Well, having said that, I think I fully respect that the tools, perhaps there are certain tools which can be made use of to fight this menace. And Election Commission, in my understanding, is making use of quite a few. And I'm very impressed with one. I'm sure, I do not know if any of you have noticed that. A platform called Myth versus Reality Register that they have created based on their application of these tools and on what are the ways in which typical deepfakes are evolved, centering around election men and material and subjects and topics and issues. And they have given a whole list on the platform so that the stakeholders, the media, other election officers, district officers, so they can make use of that myth versus reality register and then quickly detect something which could be wrong. And so that's happening. And of course, they have developed their alert system in which we ask the social media platforms to pick off certain things very quickly.
Okay.
And but I sometimes get a feeling that our social media platforms not too happy to do it. They not do it on their own a little more, because there has been quite a bit of conversation between the election managers and them. And I would just to finish this.
Okay.
And because there is a voluntary code of ethics in which you understand that in a country like India, what the menace that can these deepfakes on social media can.
So, Mr. Rout, how well do current laws in India effectively regulate the dissemination of deepfake content?
I think laws are there. The IT Act, there are certain fact-checking units. Of course, they're doing a bit of to and fro. I think we are differentiating now between Government of India regulations and which are largely driven by Ministry of IT. And we are talking about Election Commission of India's regulation, which are only for the period of election right now.
Okay.
Right now. And
Okay.
in fact, under the Constitution, right now, the Election Commission of India's regulations are of paramount importance. Of course, they don't do all these regulations in abstract. They definitely connect with Government of India existing. Like yesterday, for example, while writing to political parties, they have extensively quoted various provisions of the IT Act which relate to artificial intelligence and this new technology. And also they have related to the concerned Indian Penal Code provisions which it tends to violate. They have also referred to the Model Code of Conduct provisions which
Okay.
they
Okay.
violate. So there are the framework. I'm not too much. I'm very sure of a good framework, reasonably good framework existing. As the adversarial game expands, maybe that framework has to be more elastic. But the framework is not too bad. But the thing is, still, and the people are. I think perhaps we are at a stage of evolution in which we have still to have a complete. Even I get understanding from most knowledgeable professor, we have to various parts of the society, the government, regulator, have to come into complete grip of the situation. And but elections cannot be avoided. They have to be
Right.
held on time.
Right.
They have to be like at this point of time. So the best is being done so far as the election regulator is concerned, namely Election Commission of India. Perhaps this would be, as they always say, each election is a learning experience. This election could be
Exactly.
learning on this particular aspect of fighting the adversarial technology on adversarial impact of the technology. That could be another learning experience. Yeah.
Right. Addressing deepfakes is a global issue and challenge. How other countries are responding to similar situations and what strategies have they implemented, Professor?
So there are several international collaborations are going on.
Okay.
The partnerships, including the EU AI Act and Election Accord, and there are many actually activities at a global and international level, and global partnerships are going on. Countries like United States, Australia, and the European Union, they are all actually engaging in international forums to come up with the regulations or even have the guidelines to combat deepfakes. Specifically, like United States has like California has already passed the regulation with that respect. The European Union has actually the regulations related to deepfakes now,
Okay.
and this president has also, Joe Biden has also released a executive order with that respect, right?
Right.
Particular other here is that, but like an example is coming from United Kingdom, where the public-private partnership has also actually started coming in with respect to academia, industry, and regulators, like how actually we can detect, how we can stop the proliferation of synthetic media and deepfake, right? South Korea, Canada, Australia, and all these countries have now either they're already coming up with the guidelines or executive orders of that nature, or they have funded different projects to develop the technologies associated to defect detection.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so things are happening, and in fact, means I'm really happy to see, means even in India also the personal data protection bill, which will be probably coming in, which is like a proposed documentation, right?
Absolutely.
Could actually provide the regulations which actually impacts the creation and distribution of deepfakes which are created without the informed consent. See, there are two things we
Right.
have to. These deepfakes with consent means if I give a consent to create my deepfake for a particular purpose, that is the legitimate use of deepfake technology. So technology is not bad, right?
Exactly.
I don't give a consent to create my deepfake for any purpose of any illicit purpose. That is where actually the law, including even IPC, also has that particular law, and that can be even today used. But data protection bill certainly has clauses to this effect.
Right. Right. Well, each election is a new experience, and every time we have larger issues to deal. Thank you, Mr. Rout and Professor Vatsa, for sharing your perspective on this. Well, viewers, that is all I have for you in this edition of Perspective. Thanks for watching. संसद टीवी के और भी प्रोग्राम्स देखने के लिए सब्सक्राइब करें हमारा YouTube चैनल और हाँ, इन्हें लाइक और शेयर करना ना भूलें।